Hi, everyone. This is Avery Peel, host of the Hope Matrix on Campus podcast. We are here to share the science, strategies, and stories for how to hope. I am the Community Hope Specialist at the Shine Hope Company, and Shine is the mnemonic for how we teach hope. So when we talk about hope, we talk about the stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges, which are the thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. Hope is a skill. You can measure hope, you can teach hope, and you can start practicing skills to activate higher hope in your life today. And on this Hope Matrix on Campus podcast, we aim to bring in guests, experts in science, people with stories, and those that have strategies for activating hope in your life. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hope Matrix on Campus. I'm so excited for y'all to be back here with me today. And today we'll be talking all things grad school. So today I have with me Miss Veronica. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And I'll let her introduce herself a little bit.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about grad school and kind of demystifying the process. I had a lot of challenges going through grad school, so the more information that I can share with people, the better. So I received my bachelor's degree in psychology from Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania, which is now called Penn West, less cool. And then I went on and got my master's in clinical mental health counseling at East Tennessee State University. Took 3 years off to work as a children and youth therapist, and then got into a clinical psychology doctoral program at Georgia Southern University, where I spent the last 4 years, and now I'm in my pre-doctoral residency at Charleston Area Medical Center in West Virginia, specializing in neuropsychology.
That's amazing. So Veronica works for the Shine Hope Company too, part-time. And because we're so far apart, we work remotely. We really don't ever get to talk that much. And so I knew that you were in school, but I'm excited to hear all about your experience and learn more about you today too. So thank you for coming on here and sharing. Let's get into it. Let's talk all things grad school. So can you tell us a little bit about the application process and just start from the beginning, like where you started with your master's, and then after we go through the master's process, we can get into the doctoral side.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think the process that I took for my master's program and the doctoral program were vastly different. And I think the application process starts with figuring out, of course, where you want to go or what you want to do. So the process for a doctoral program is a lot different than a master's. A master's in counseling is going to look a lot different than a master's in history or art or anything of that nature. So for the master's program, I went straight from undergrad into it and was not very knowledgeable about what it took to get into grad school. And so I applied to just places that seemed fun rather than good fits for me. And that resulted in me not having a lot of interviews. In fact, I had about 2. And one of them was a for-profit institution, meaning I would have had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get my master's degree there. And the other one, East Tennessee State University, had graduate assistantships, which is something you should look for when you're compiling your list. So A, figuring out what it is you want to get your master's in, and then B, actually looking at the schools to make sure that they're going to offer the training opportunities that you want and making sure that they're funded. A lot of graduate programs, master's and doctorate especially, do offer funded positions where you work for about 20 hours in exchange for full tuition waiver, and they pay you a stipend. And if you are lucky, like I was at the time, then you get a graduate assistantship in the library where you can do all your homework and all your studying there and basically get paid for it. Of course, that's not the case for all people. Some people have more intense assistantships, but those offer different opportunities and benefits.
Yeah, that's great. I had no clue about that.
Yeah, and I didn't either. It wasn't until I was interviewing with the program that they said, all of our students get graduate assistantships. Here's what that looks like. And so after the interview, I was like, well, I'm either going there or I'm going nowhere, because at that point, I was already in a ton of student loan debt, and still am, just from going to an out-of-state school for my undergrad. So it just would not have been feasible for me to go to a school where would have had to pay more tuition.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's so expensive to go to college. And I feel like a lot of people are fortunate and can get a lot of scholarships, which one of my best friends got so many scholarships. It was ridiculous. And now she's applying to go to law school for free, pretty much. So yeah, no, I totally get it. And the financials are a huge part of a lot of people's decisions in choosing to further their education, because a lot of people just can't afford to further their education, especially after undergrad.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's hard to talk about, so thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so whenever you started with your master's program, how did you know what program to apply for? Because I know, like here at the U of A, under counseling, there are 5 different programs under one umbrella that you can choose from, and you have to pick a specific one. So how did you know specifically what you wanted to do?
Yeah. So for me, and, I'm speaking mostly from the lens of mental health today, because of course that is the experiences that I have. Unfortunately, I don't have much experiences with any other disciplines. But for me, I recognized at that point that going into a doctorate, which was my end goal, was incredibly competitive. And there was a huge possibility that I would never get there. So when I was looking for master's programs, I was looking for ones that would ultimately lead to licensure so that I could practice and have a fallback plan in case I didn't end up in a doctoral program. And there are a lot of subsets of counseling. There's clinical mental health counseling, which is what I did, and that's the most general. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something general so that I could have versatility and do whatever it was that I felt pulled to do after graduation, assuming that I would never get into a doctoral program. There's also marriage and family therapy if you want to focus more on groups and care more about family systems and couples and that nature. There's children subspecialties as well if you want to focus on tiny humans, which tiny humans terrified me at the time. They still terrify me. However, I ended up working with them for a few years, which we'll talk about. So I guess it's whatever you feel drawn to or interested in. One thing to keep in mind is as you're looking at programs, seeing if it's possible for you to switch between specialties once you're in the program. Let's say that you start in clinical mental health counseling and then take a couple of elective classes in kid therapy and realize, oh, I absolutely love tiny humans. I want to work with them forever. They're the best. Then making sure that's an option for you if it is something you think that you're not set in stone about.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to think about it and have all of those options available. I can honestly say that I have not done near as much research as I need to do looking into grad school. So thank you for enlightening me.
It's so overwhelming too. And it's one of the reasons why when I started teaching during my doctoral program, I really emphasized to students that I want to be a mentor. Like I want to walk them through the process. I think a lot of times students go into the graduate school applications blind especially if their school doesn't have strong mentorship models. And without knowing what to expect or what to look for, it's very easy to fall into what I fell into of just applying to random places based on location or based on what I thought I wanted, and then not having a lot of options because that fit isn't coming through in your cover letter.
Absolutely. No, I can definitely see that. And I can see how a lot of institutions don't have that mentorship, because I didn't feel like I had that here, which I love the University of Arkansas. And I would not change the past 4 years of my life for anything. However, I figured out how to do my own degree audit and get through like signing up for classes and figuring out if I'm going to graduate on time and what classes I need to take to get there, and what if I need to take summer classes, or if I need to overload my schedule with more than 15 hours. I had to figure that out all on my own because most of our advisors are graduate assistants, and they're great, but they have so many other things on their plate that they don't necessarily help in the way that a freshman who knows nothing about anything would need. So I completely get that. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to mentor and that you took advantage of that to truly help students, because that is what students need right now. That is what I need. That's what I needed when I was a freshman. And thank you. I feel like I would have loved having someone like you to help me get through college.
Yeah, it's so important. And one more thing that I'll kind of say about this is, in mental health, I've talked about the masters in counseling that lead to a license, but a big trap, I guess I'll call it, in the master's realm is masters of psychology, masters of clinical psychology or general psychology, which in a lot of states don't lead to a license. And in a lot of states, you can't practice with those. So when I work with students, they'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, like, I know I want to get a doctorate, so I'm going to get my master's in psychology. That's going to give me more experience. I'll go right into a doctorate. Okay, well, doctorates are incredibly competitive. So if things fall through and they don't get into one, having just a master's in psychology doesn't lead to any sort of job in most states. So keeping that in mind too, and figuring out what is my end goal and how can I get there in a way that's going to set me up for stability if I can't get to that end goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think helped set you apart to get you into your doctoral program? I mean, was it the work experience whenever you took time off, or what set you up for success?
The number one thing that doctoral programs look for is research. And a lot of students think that it's volunteer work, that it's working in clinical settings. And again, speaking from the lens of clinical psychology, because that's where my experience is, that stuff is nice, sure, but it's the research that really sets you apart, showcasing that you're able to work as part of a research team and collaborate on data collection and writing a manuscript, or even having your own independent project, coming in with the ability to have a basic understanding of stats and methods that make for a strong project. It doesn't have to be anything insane. Like, you don't have to come in with a first author paper or even having a publication, but going out and presenting posters, going to local regional conferences and giving a talk, or being a part of a round table, or even being a member of some of these organizations can help set you apart and show that you're really committed to the field and moving forward.
Absolutely. So did you learn those things while you were in school to get your master's? I mean, did they teach you how to do that research, or did they give you the capacity to perform your own research project?
So actually, my story is a little bit of an anomaly. After I got into my master's, I did a lot of independent research to figure out what it would take to be a competitive student, what I needed to do. Because I quickly found out during the master's that counseling and therapy wasn't really my jam. So I created the ability to do a thesis within that department. I found one of my mentors who I value so much. She's still in my life and we still communicate. And she was willing to act as a chair and allow me to do a thesis, which had not been done in that program before. And if you're in a master's program and recognizing, hey, I don't really have research and I know I want to get a doctorate, or maybe you just want to see what research is, start looking around at the different faculty or the different potential mentors and seeing which one would be willing to work with you and that you would have a good relationship with. And it's a good idea to work with the faculty and build good relationships with them anyways, because they're going to be your number one support through all the hard times of grad school, help support you as you're looking for a job, or even be letters of recommendation writers. And also they could help have you join their lab or have you create a project with them. So it's always a good idea to work with faculty regardless of what your goals are.
Wow, that is so great. I feel like that is really brave of you. I mean, that probably took a lot of courage to go out and create something that hadn't been done before and do a thesis where they don't do theses. I mean, it's encouraging. And I think that it's a good thing for all students to hear this, to just know that they can do that too.
Yeah, 100%. And not to jump ahead a little bit, but I think that's really where hope comes in too. You know, coming into graduate school and having this goal and surrounding yourself with the people that can help support that goal while also taking care of your well-being and maintaining positive emotions and positive feelings so that you can work towards that goal. If I had come into my master's and was just miserable and hated it and had no motivation for anything, then I wouldn't have gotten out of it all of the stuff that helped me go on to get my doctorate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just get into hope then. Let's talk about our SHINE framework, and we're going to start with stress skills. So I know that you already know this, but just for the listeners, a little recap. Stress skills are skills that you can use to help moderate your stress response. And so this can help you manage your sadness, anger, fear, frustration, and they're super useful, and I use them all the time. So, Veronica, what did you use whenever you were going through this process, and especially during your master's when you're realizing, this isn't for me? How did you move on? And what stress skills did you use to help you get through that whenever you were maybe fearful that that program wasn't for you, or sad that it wasn't going to work out, or, like, what things did you do to help you manage those emotions?
Yeah, so I participated in a lot of group fitness. I found that it held me accountable to be somewhere at a certain time, and exercise is something that has consistently helped when I've felt overwhelmed and stressed. And it's something that I've continued with even amongst the doctoral applications and then the residency applications, because the stress in academia does not stop. So having strong stress skills that you can gravitate towards during those challenging times, I think, have been instrumental throughout my journey these past 10 years.
Absolutely. And did you find these stress skills while you were going through this process, or did you already did you already participate in these things? And then just kind of like, whenever you started, you realized, oh yeah, this is such a stress reliever? Or did it take a minute to figure out how to get through it?
No, I would say that it took a little bit of time. One of the things with moving to graduate school, oftentimes it's in a new community. And so trying to get your footing, making social connections, trying to get back into the swing of school at a more intense level because it's graduate school, and circling all these things, I was looking for some sort of outlet. And one of the professors actually during the first couple of weeks of school had mentioned, hey, make sure that you check out the campus gym. Like, it's brand new, state of the art. It has all these things. And I knew that I had wanted to try to get into shape, just for health reasons. And so I checked it out and just absolutely fell in love with all the different group classes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That makes me glad to hear. I feel like a lot of people don't utilize their school gyms, and most universities have really nice facilities to use at your convenience.
Take advantage of it. I'm only a few months out from being at Georgia Southern, and now I have to pay $150 a month in order to participate in spin classes.
Oh my gosh.
So please take advantage of all of the group fitness classes that your campus has to offer.
Definitely. And I bet it's hard trying to find time for those classes. You want to utilize it since you're paying for it, and you're also in your residency. I bet that is so hard trying to find time for all of it.
Yeah. So one thing that I do that kind of helps, and this also kind of like, not to like steal your lead, but jumps into a happiness habit.
Yeah, no, let's get into it.
Is planning and staying organized. So I start my mornings and I like to do just a brief check-in meditation, ground myself, be in the present moment. And then I love to write down all the things that I have to do that day. And one of the things that I prioritize is setting aside that spin class. So that's at a set time. That's not going to change throughout the day. So I make sure that everything works around that. And having my day organized and planned out at the forefront, I think, is something that helps ground me throughout the day so that I don't become overwhelmed or just feel a little too stressed. I also, as I'm planning out my day, will have stuff at the end, extras, that I would love to get to. But if I don't, then it's okay because it was just extra and it can follow through to the next day.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of got into your extras too, but what are the extras? What other happiness habits do you use? Like, if you were to have the extra time, what would you do with it?
Yeah, so I am a neuropsychology resident, which means that my day is constantly filled with learning all things about the brain, all the different connections and whatnot. And one of the ways that I try to study or try to become more knowledgeable about these different syndromes and anatomy is coloring. So it's kind of a dual purpose of coloring because that's something that just brings joy. It's fun, it's colorful, and it's also helping me study. And it's not the most pressing thing in my day. It's more so of trying to build up that knowledge gradually.
Absolutely. I bet that is just a nice little release. It's almost like you're not learning, like you can give your brain a rest by just coloring a pretty picture, but while you're coloring that picture, you're still learning what you need to be learning.
Yeah.
That's really smart, and that's a really good study tactic that more people should use. I need to start using that. Okay, so I feel like this kind of also led into our inspired actions and how you use your happiness habits to continue your learning. Mm-hmm. So what is your end goal? What is your big goal for going to school and going through your residency? Who do you want to be? And how many mini goals have you had to set to get there? Or have you ever had to re-goal? Like if you didn't get into a school, you could re-goal to maybe do something else for a little bit and then go back to it. So what did you do? What are your inspired actions?
Yeah, so ultimately, when I'm all said and done, I want to be a board certified neuropsychologist. So what that entails is the doctorate, which I'll be completely done with residency in June, and then a 2-year fellowship specializing in neuropsychology. So that is what I have been working towards. But to get to this point, I have had so many goals and micro goals. I talked about getting the master's as a step towards eventually getting the doctorate. And then after that, something I didn't mention, but we'll mention now, is it took me 3 years, 3 rounds, in order to get accepted into a doctoral program. And so in that, there were so many moments of hopelessness. I vividly remember I would be working as a therapist. I would finish a session, check my phone, see that I had a rejection from a school, have a quick 3-minute cry, pull myself together, and then go into my next session. And it just was not sustainable. So through that, some of those micro goals that I took was, okay, what do I need to do to be a better applicant? And each year I took on more and more research experiences. I attended conferences and networked more with different PIs at different schools that would remember my face and give me an interview. I studied more for the GRE, which luckily the GRE is not really a thing as much anymore. Worst test in the world. I hope the entire institution burns down. Not really, but just taking incremental steps towards making myself a better applicant. And then once I was in the doctoral program, centering myself of, okay, I've made it, I thought I was going to be a professor. I thought that I was going to pursue academia, and became very burned out very quickly as soon as I started teaching undergrads, and had to re-goal. I had to take a hard look at myself and say, am I cut out for this? Am I willing to work nonstop, have students email me at 11, 12, 1 a.m.? And the answer was no. And so I had to figure out something else I was passionate about. I had to figure out my why. And that came during one of my rotations. Had an amazing patient I got to do neuropsych stuff with, fell in love with it, and have been working towards that since. Towards this goal, there's been, of course, many challenges. Neuropsych is another very competitive subset of psychology. So taking extra courses to help build myself up, and networking, trying to practice interviewing for when I eventually interviewed for residency positions, leading up to match day, trying to practice all the stress skills, all the happiness habits to help prep myself for what may come. Matched, now I'm here, and now I'm continuing to learn and grow to set me up for fellowship applications. So it's constant micro steps, building yourself up with the happiness habits, managing the challenges with stress skills, and then re-goaling where necessary. That was very long. I'm so sorry.
No, that was amazing. I truly did not know how many steps it was, and how many goals of yours would be big goals for others. I mean, I think that getting a master's alone is a big goal, and you have surpassed that and set many goals to reach all of these other goals to ultimately become a neuropsychologist. I mean, this is like incredible. And I think that all of the steps that you have taken are truly inspiring. And I know that they're called inspired actions for a reason, but it's just, I mean, I think that everybody needs to hear that and hear about like we can celebrate these little goals and celebrate the steps that we've taken to get to where we want to go.
100%. And know that it's okay if a goal isn't achieved immediately. It has taken me, I graduated from undergrad in 2015. So it'll have taken me 10 years from the time I graduated undergrad to the time I got my doctorate. And that's okay. There's no set timeline. So working at your own pace and re-goaling when necessary, splitting up goals into more micro goals when necessary, all that stuff.
Absolutely. And splitting up big goals into micro goals is truly a good thing, because sometimes when our goals are too big, they seem unreachable. And so breaking that down is literally, I mean, something that we teach people. And so I'm glad that you explained that and explained that you had to do that. And it's a normal process of life. And you're on your own path, you're on your own journey. And however much time that takes, I mean, you're completing these goals at your own pace and as life comes. And your journey's as perfect as any other one.
Absolutely.
So after talking about all of these goals, I really have learned a lot about how difficult this process has been for you. And I'm just wondering, who has been your nourishing network through this whole process? I know that you've been through many different programs and working, and so that could have changed multiple times. But do you have any constants? I mean, who's helped you apply for schools? Who have your mentors been? Overall, who has your nursing network been throughout the past 10 years?
Yeah, so I would say the primary constant has been my husband. We have been together for 13 years, a very long time. And I'm very, very fortunate to have had him and his support as we have relocated all of these times to help me pursue my dream of clinical psychology and now neuropsychology. So he has been the constant. Along the way, it has varied. I would say with each stage, I've had a primary mentor who I've gravitated towards, who's kind of helped me shape my applications or shape my thinking. And I'm very fortunate for all of them. I'll give them a little bit of a shout out. So at Edinburgh University, it was Dr. Mike Skelly. He is a cognitive psychologist, and he's kind of one of the initial ones who got me into research. Before him, I was like, research is stupid. Who cares? And he helped show me that it was fun and that it could be whatever you want it to be, which kind of set the foundation for me to expand on that during my master's. During my master's, Dr. Lycus Worley, fabulous. She took me under her wing and was my thesis chair. She did not have to take on the burden of chairing a thesis when that was not in her job description. And she did. And she also stuck with me as I applied through the 3 years of doctoral applications. In between my master's and my doctorate, I would say that Dr. Sally Lewis, she has a lab in Asheville, North Carolina, and I found her and she helped me grow even more in research and get that extra experience so that I would be competitive for the doctoral applications. And then throughout my doctoral training, Dr. Nicolette Rickard, she was the chair for my dissertation and was so supportive. All of these individuals that have been primary mentors for me have been insurmountable help. They have encouraged me. They have looked over my materials. They've helped pick me up when I have some of these moments of hopelessness that often come as you're navigating academia. And I think the moral of this is that it's so, so important to connect with at least one faculty mentor in your program so that you have that solid foundation to help you navigate the process of grad school.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And it's really encouraging to hear that there is faculty who are willing to mentor you and they want to mentor you. Mm-hmm. And it's really encouraging that you had a different person at each place that you were, and through every step you had somebody to help you through it. And I think that it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of encouragement to get through school. Even undergrad, some people really struggle in finding that mentor, especially if it's a faculty member, is just that much more encouraging.
Yeah, and I think the biggest advice that I would give to those people who are maybe struggling to find a mentor is to go online and look up who are the faculty of your program. And often in that, there will be bios, or their CVs will give insight into their research interests or their background. Learn a little bit about them. And then if you see someone who has a background that you're interested in, just shoot them an email and say, hey, I noticed that you have this experience, or that this was in your bio, and I would love to connect with you to learn more. And that's a great entryway to start a conversation and build that relationship.
Absolutely. And that's really smart. I've never thought to do that before. I've always just looked at the professors that I've had as of current and thought, well, if they don't want to mentor me, then nobody does. But that's not true. And I was wrong to think that. But that's another thing, that you have to step out of your comfort zone and truly put yourself in a position to be able to meet people and to be able to make that connection. And I think that it's hard to step out of that sometimes, but it has to be purposeful.
Know that a lot of faculty want to help. I've had students reach out to me, even as a doc student, saying like, hey, I heard about your study doing this. Like, I'm really interested in this. Or, hey, I heard you're doing neuropsych. I want to learn how to do that too. And for me, I love that because I want to help those individuals and shine some light on some of the challenges that they may face and how to overcome those from the start. So there's a lot of others like me who love to receive those types of emails.
Well, thank you for being one of those members and a mentor that helps students get to where they need to go to. Let's go into eliminating challenges. So one of the biggest parts of this is rumination. And rumination is basically just repetitively focusing on distress and the things that cause that distress. And so it's like over worrying almost about the same thing. And so let's talk about how we can change those thoughts into more positive thoughts. And it's almost like re-goaling, but in our thinking. So how did you eliminate some of the challenges in your life by preventing rumination?
Yeah, so there was a few ways, and rumination has been a pretty consistent problem that I have faced throughout this entire process. I mean, how can you not? Academia is just full of rejection. There's so much rejection that one faces as they pursue it, unfortunately. And part of that rejection you can internalize, and it can lead to rumination. So for me, I focused a lot on what I could control about something versus what I couldn't control. When I noticed myself having the thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to make it, this is never going to happen for me, I kind of got out of my head a little bit and said, okay, what can I control about this? I can control what kind of applicant I am. I can control what kind of experiences I gain. I can't control how these schools are deciding who to admit versus who not to admit. I can control how many places I apply to. I can't control whether this mentor decided last minute not to take a student or not. Another thing that really helped me is challenging some of these thoughts. So when I notice a thought come up of, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not competent enough to do this, I would notice it. I think bringing awareness to that thought is really important. And then challenge it. Is this thought true? Do I have evidence that I'm not smart enough? Do I have evidence that I'm not going to make it? And kind of challenging those thoughts in the moment was enough to get me to break out of it and then go back into the inspired actions of, okay, what can I do now? Instead of just sitting here and ruminating.
Absolutely. Breaking out of those thoughts is really hard to do.
So hard.
It is. And it's really, I know I've said this a lot. It's really encouraging to hear you say all of these things. And I feel like your story is hitting me a little bit personally because I want to go into clinical mental health and counseling. So I'm literally applying to a master's program right now, which is the same program that you went through. And my end goal is to go get my doctorate. And so I feel like hearing you say all of these things, I'm truly internalizing, and it's truly making me think about all of the things that I need to do differently and that I need to do better. And hearing the way that you're getting through them is encouraging. And I think that this is why we're doing this, because we want to share these stories with other students who are going through similar situations. And so they can internalize these situations just like I am right now. And even if they don't want to go into clinical mental health, they can still take the advice about graduate school and put it to something else, put it on a different program. I mean, generally, it's similar steps. And throughout like your goals and nourishing networks and eliminating challenges, those can be used for different programs all throughout graduate schools. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what program you're in. It just helps that you're in psychology. And so you kind of have that deeper insight. So yeah, but this is just like a full circle moment for me right now, because I'm just thinking, this is helpful to me, and this is why we're doing this for so many other students. And I hope that everybody else takes it the same way that I'm taking it right now.
I hope so too. And I mean, like I've mentioned a few times during this, I love to mentor students. So if anyone is ever in a similar situation and needs a little bit more mentorship, I'm always happy to hop on a Zoom call and chat with someone more about experiences and what they can do to bolster their application.
Wow, that is amazing. I will add your email to the podcast.
Please do. Please do.
I'm sure that you could really help a lot of students. And thank you so much for offering that. So to end out our podcast, I just want to recap. But what are 3 things that you want someone to take away from this conversation?
I think the first thing is have solid mentorship. Try to find someone who will lend an ear when you're struggling, who can write a strong letter of recommendation because you'll need that, and who has navigated the process. Number 2, plan for the obstacles. Applying to graduate school is full of many, many obstacles, and having a plan in place before that of how you're going to manage your stress, how you're going to maintain positive feelings, what goals you're going to take to get to through that process is going to be instrumental to help you survive it, honestly, because it is just so challenging and it does not need to be. And I think the third most important thing is just to stay true to yourself. As cliche as that sounds, I've seen some students go into a graduate program because they feel like they need to. And then once they're in it, they recognize, oh, wait, I actually hate school and I can get more meaning out of my life and feel more fulfilled doing something that doesn't require that. So constantly check in with yourself and see, what is it that I actually want to do? What is my why? Is this something that I absolutely have to do or want to do? Or is it something that I feel pressured to do? Because there are so many successful people who haven't gone to school. Both of my brothers are making a ton of money and have trade skills. So there's always that as well.
Absolutely. And money isn't everything. You can still be successful without it.
That too.
That too. It's always important to talk about, just because I feel like a lot of people have this idea that you can't be successful in life without having a big paycheck, which I can see how it correlates because things are getting so expensive these days. But I really think that as long as you're happy, there you can be
Yeah, I completely agree. If you wake up and enjoy what you do, I think that's the most important thing. Everything else will fall into place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad to hear this story, and I'm so excited to share it with so many others. Thank you so much for sharing it with me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you all for listening to the Hope Matrix on Campus podcast. I hope to have provided you with actionable insights and a framework that you can use to start activating higher hope in your life today. And don't forget that hope is measurable and teachable. This program is designed to assist you in learning about hope, but it should not be used for medical advice, counseling, or other health-related services. I, Fred, the Shine Hope Company, and myself, Avery Peel, do not endorse or provide any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical doctor. The information provided here should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition and cannot be substituted for the advice of physicians, licensed professionals, or therapists who are familiar with your specific situation. Consult a licensed medical professional or call 911 if you're in need of immediate assistance, and be sure to know the crisis hotline 988 if you are in need of support. We are better with hope. Please feel free to check out theshinehopecompany.com, where we list all of our resources around how to hope. We have a lot of free programs for how to hope, including the 5-day challenge, our hope infographic with a lot of skills that showcase how to hope, and articles of how to incorporate hope in your life. We have the Hope Beat Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter that shares strategies for hope. We have my Shine Hope story template, so you can write your own Shine Hope story today. Also, my Shine Hope hero, so we can share what our heroes are doing to activate hope in our lives. And this is especially good with youth, so they can start looking up to people that have overcome similar challenges to them and seeing how these heroes use the Shine Hope framework. We have a Hopeful Minds for Teens program and Hopeful Minds Overview Educator Guides. We have a new evidence-based college course so you can activate hope on the college campus. There are programs in the workspace, overview courses, 90-minute courses for learning the what, why, and how to hope. What I want you to know about hope is it's a skill you've got to practice to become more hopeful. It's easy to fall into despair and helplessness when we deal with challenges in life, and it takes intentional work and practice to get to hope. And yet it is always possible. So no matter what life brings, keep shining hope. Thanks so much for listening, and have an awesome day.